sorry, was I supposed to lie to you? Is that what you want? You wanted me to lie to you? Because I can do that. I can coddle you in your childish delusions, but I don't think that's what you came to me for. I think you came to me because you know I'm a straight shooter, okay? And I'm going to call them like I see them. And even if nobody else is going to be honest with you, I will, because I will say the truth. And the truth is that Cinderella doesn't have ears. Now you might be thinking, Kate, didn't we already litigate this? Wasn't this all hashed out already in 2018? You're probably not thinking that. Actually, you're probably thinking, I have to go to work tomorrow. You're probably thinking, someone help, I'm employed. What does this mean? But don't worry, if you do not have enough time in your everyday life to be thinking about Cinderella, it's okay. I thought about Cinderella enough for the both of us. Now, if you do happen to be plugged into Disney princess discourse, then you might know that the topic of Cinderella's ears and whether or not they exist is not one that I am bringing to the table for the first time, okay? This was litigated several years ago, and the debate was reignited over the summer. I mean, I don't know how you didn't hear about this, because it was pretty huge. I mean, look at this story about it from very, very reputable news source, The Mirror in the UK. I mean, Disney fans were fuming over the bizarre explanation about Cinderella's missing ears. Oh my God, who set off this furor?
I have been summoned!
Yeah, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. The explanation is actually very simple, and this is just something you might not know about being an online content creator. But if you make videos and you have ever had something get more than like 1 or 2 million views, whether you're a full-time creator or just like a random person that happened to have something go viral, you've probably experienced this. There is an entire media ecosystem. There are entire beats for full-time journalists that consist entirely of taking content from a social platform, especially made for video content, and summarizing it for an online audience in a way that presents it as news. This has happened to me maybe a dozen times that I know of, and it is extremely funny. And at the risk of, complaining about success, it also kind of sucks. Partly, it just makes me feel kind of sad for the state of online journalism, the same way that if you see the nightly news on TV and there's an entire segment that's just them reading tweets they found to you, and you're like, oh, this is not good. So it's just not a great sign of the times that a summary of any one of my TikToks about a Disney movie on any planet could be considered a news article. I know it's tough out there, and this is definitely not the fault of any individual journalist. This is a bigger issue. Ooh, but dang, does it make me feel good. It also doesn't feel super good as a creator to have your stuff used this way, even though most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time what they're doing is strictly speaking legal. Sometimes people who send me links to these stories, I think are expecting that I'll find this to be cool and maybe even flattering. And at the risk of sounding like a tremendous jerk, I don't find it flattering the same way I wouldn't find it flattering to be offered an unpaid internship even at a very prestigious corporation. Like, sure, this is somebody else that maybe is in a position of influence that has indirectly said, hey, your work, what you do isn't worthless, which I guess is positive, but I didn't think what I did was worthless to begin with. I think my stuff is cool and funny a lot of the time. And I know you did too, or you wouldn't have put it on your website. You only did that because you knew people would click on it and you'd get paid for those clicks. You would get paid for clicks on an article for which I did, let's be honest, 100% of the creative work. It also makes me a little uncomfortable when these stories get written because I don't enjoy watching the game of telephone happen. When these stories are written, they take the video that I have made, in this case almost always a TikTok, and the first thing they do is remove it from that original context. That's the context of TikTok, the media ecosystem where we have a shared vocabulary of memes and jokes and styles, and also from the context of my entire TikTok account. Most people who are seeing one of my videos have seen one of my videos before, and over time we build up a sense of like, this is my sense of humor, these are the things I find interesting, these are just the ways I communicate. So now the words I said about, in this case, Cinderella's ears, they've been pulled out of their original context as part of TikTok and as part of Babbity Kate on TikTok, and they've also been separated from the delivery. Like a lot of content creators, I have a performance background. I'll give you guys a second to gasp in surprise. And I don't think you can fully separate those two things. When I talk to you on TikTok or on YouTube, yeah, I'm communicating ideas I could have communicated in writing, and maybe even I'm working from a script. I'm obviously not today, can you tell? But if I decided to turn those ideas into a written article, I would write it differently. That's a different medium. And my tone of voice, my expressions, even the way that I've staged the scene, all of those things are important. They're all part of how I'm communicating. Am I always 100% successful in having my words come across exactly how I wanted them to? Of course not. Nobody is. And I don't know that I'm any better than average at that. But I think people mostly know when I'm being funny and when I'm being serious, and it makes me feel real weird. Makes me feel some kind of way about myself when I read the quotes from this character version of myself that exists in these articles, who is just such a humorless scold. If you knew me in college, you're probably like, but Kate, you are a humorless scold. But I'm not on TikTok. On TikTok, I'm very cute and whimsical. It is also so upsetting to see what I said verbatim written out. It annoys me when they change the words, and it annoys me when they don't change the words. I'm impossible to please. But in this one, they made sure to include every like and not flattering. I need you guys to understand that I came across this article organically because I was searching about the topic, okay? I didn't find it because I was Googling my username, which I actually do very rarely because I'm scared. And I didn't find it because I was contacted about the article or with a link to it. I was thinking I might make a YouTube video expounding on my thoughts about Cinderella not having ears. And so I Googled to see if anything new had been written about the topic lately. And it was! And that is the kind of jump scare that sometimes makes me think about leaving this line of work. All that tangent to say, if you are wondering who reignited the debate about the existence of Cinderella's ears, I want Cersei to know it was me. And I would like her to stop writing articles about me in the mirror. When you think of Disney's Cinderella, you'll remember how her ballroom look was completed with a light blue hairband on her head. No, I won't. No, I won't remember that because it was silver. The headband was silver, which matched her dress, which was silver. We've been over this. You're on my bad side already. But there was always one thing missing, her ears. Instead, there were circles that appeared to be connected to the hairband, and no one could work out what they were. Animators have since explained the mysterious accessory, sparking a heated debate online among fans about whether they are to be believed. In a recent video shared online by Babbity Kate, she claimed the official explanation is that the circles are earrings, which aren't attached to the hairband as they appear to be. However, Kate refused to believe their reasoning, as she is adamant the fairy tale princess has never had ears.
Now, most of the time when a person with long hair wears a headband, they'll kind of wedge it in like this so that they're pushing back the hair and the hair is off of their face, okay? But that's actually not how she's wearing this headband at all. She's had her hairstyle fully done, and then the headband is on top of that. Very Blair Waldorf. Now, I'm pretty sure small Kate watched this movie and thought of all this as one object. I think that's true for a lot of kids. You just sort of see it as one thing. But the official story is that this is a headband and this is an earring. Now, think about the logistics of that for a minute. That's crazy. We've got the hair pulled back and then it goes into the updo, right? The headband is sitting on top of that. Oh, the green screen is failing me. So you got the headband on top like this, and let's say the headband is extra tall, so it goes as low as we need it to go. Okay, we have an earring that's an oval, and that's gonna hang right there. Now for this then to match this picture, one of two things has to be true. Either this is a magic gravity-defying earring that sits upside down, because the post of the earring has to be at the top, right? Because of gravity, the main part dangles down, but somehow they've attached it to the post there and rotated it up, and it stays like that. Or if it is hanging down and the top of that earring is where her earlobe is, that would mean her ears in proportion to her face are like up here. Both of those are strange and wacky possibilities that you might think are explained by the fact that, oh, maybe these are like male animators who have never worn or handled an earring and they just don't understand how improbable this is. But I don't think that's it. I think this is not an earring. This can't be an earring because Cinderella doesn't have ears. Show me the ear. Where ear? Okay, we have swoop of hair with no ear underneath, just flat skull. And I'm talking 1950s Cinderella here. Don't come in here with any live action, any sequel shenanigans. Cinderella ear defenders will try to bamboozle you. They'll show you screenshots like this, where there is the whisper of a shadow of a shell of an ear. That is not an ear. That's not what an ear is.
TikTok users were left stunned by the clip as they took to the comments to give their opinions. One user said, "I feel like they just didn't feel like drawing her ears." Another added, "Optimal female beauty is no ears. LOL." This is a very funny comment. This is not news. Well, a third wrote, "I think she was made in the 50s, and they didn't think anyone would analyze Cinderella on TikTok in 2024. That's my least favorite kind of comment to get. That's in the it's not that deep bro family of comments, which is just so insulting, less to me, but more to the medium of animation, like art and artists. The main reason I needed to bring this article up is because of the last line, which is one of my favorite things I've ever read. Disney has been contacted for a comment. So you mean some person working in PR for Disney has an email in their inbox, let's be honest, in their trash folder, let's be honest, in their spam folder, has an email that says, "A lady on TikTok said Cinderella doesn't have ears. Do you have a comment? Do you have a comment? Does the mouse have a comment?" I feel so powerful. Oh my gosh, the mirror, you're making me feel like the man, because I can menace Disney without even trying. I don't even have to write the email myself. I don't even have to know it's happening. Other people for me, on my behalf, will harass Disney about Cinderella's ears. You know what's crazy? She notes that Disney has been contacted for a comment. You know who wasn't contacted for a comment? Babbity Kate, who wrote, let's be real, this whole article. You know what? Let's fire up the word counter. This entire article is 452 words. And let me pull out anything that's a direct quote from me, which is these 4 paragraphs. I talk a lot. Girls talk too much. Oh yes, girls talk too much. Direct quotes from me are 201 words of the article. That's not counting the paraphrasing. If you take out all the quotes from me and people who commented on my TikTok, there's only 208 words left in this thing. I should ask for a byline. That's criminal. I know. It's a real champagne problem. Truly, no tea, no shade to the original author, okay? It's tough out there. Miss Kirsty, I believe, Kirsty Louise Card. She seems nice. I actually clicked on the link to her website, and it says, choose success over PCOS. Which, unfortunately, I think kind of rules. She might be awesome. When I was in college, I had a summer internship where I did only a slightly less trashy version of this. So it's not on her. You gotta write what they're gonna buy. I just don't think they should be buying this. So I think I'm finally done complaining and ready to talk about what the video's about. But first, a word from our sponsors. Today's video was brought to you by French hoods, which are these things. Sometimes people call them Tudor hoods, but that gets very confusing because there's also such thing as an English hood, and both the French and the English wore both of them, and it's a mess. French hoods are kind of a hat, and kind of a veil, and also sometimes kind of a crown, and they're kind of a headband, which is why I got a lot of comments that Cinderella was wearing a French hood. If that seems like an attractive explanation to you, because after all, a French hood looks kind of like a headband and it shows the front part of the hair while hiding the ears, I would like to remind you that literally nothing about this movie is Tudor. We are so far from the Tudors here, probably a 200-year difference. Cinderella isn't properly speaking historical, but it's a very historically inspired setting, and the period that's inspiring it is very, very mid-19th century. So French hoods have graciously sponsored this video with one request: that you stop commenting Tudor hood on my videos about Cinderella's headband, because this ain't Tudor. Ain't no hold'em. This video is also brought to you by Parliament Hill. Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Not Parliament Hall. Parliament Hill, which is the patch of land on which sits the building, you might even call it a hall, where the Canadian Parliament meets, and arguably Parliament Hall could be a nice name for that building, but it's not. But it's not. Nobody says that. They call it Parliament Hill. And that's all we need to say about that. This video is also brought to you by the letter E, which is for ears, which is a word that no longer seems real to me. Lastly, this video comes to you courtesy of the lovely community over on my Patreon. Link in the description. More on that at the end of the video. And viewers like you. Thank you. So where were we? You came here because I would tell you the truth, and the thing I'm telling you the truth about is that Cinderella doesn't have ears, and she doesn't. I said that this debate was first ignited in 2018, which might seem like a random year, but that was the year that Wreck-It Ralph 2 came out. A movie that I did not particularly enjoy and probably would have never thought about again after I saw it for the first time, except for the fact that it is so crucially important in the history of the Disney Princess brand that now I think about it every day. Someday I will get around to making the giant mammoth omnibus video about the entire history of the Disney Princess brand, and Wreck-It Ralph 2 will figure prominently in that video, because when these girlies pop up on screen, to be clear, these are not the girlies from the classic Disney movies you know and love. This is not, Moana from the movie Moana and Tiana from the movie The Princess and the Frog. These are the Disney princesses. This is Princess Moana. This is Princess Tiana. The fact that all of these girlies are shown here as their princess selves, talking to each other, okay, existing in the same physical space as each other, if anything could be said to be a physical space in a movie where they are literally in the internet, but it clearly aware of and interacting with each other. Some of you don't appreciate how monumental this was. In order to make this happen, to have all these girls appear not just in the same movie as each other, but in this specific movie with this particular style of very loud and smooth and shiny 3D animation, they had to make some changes to character design. The transition was more smooth for some girls than others. Our dearest Princess Cinderella, she doesn't look right. She just doesn't look right. And is that because this animation style is just horrible and ugly? Is it because anytime you translate a character from one animation style to another, it's gonna look weird? No, it's because she has ears. That's according to this viral tweet anyway. And it's become a lot harder in recent years to find old tweets using just the search function, but that's okay. We will always be able to find this one thanks to the many, many articles that copy and pasted the tweet and then restated the tweet in their own words for you, because that's what journalism is. Unironically, though, that is unfortunately kind of a very valuable service that these articles provide, and I have used it a lot when I write or make videos about things that have to do with like niche internet history, especially past controversies or whatever. It might be really hard to find old posts, especially if the website or the platform where they were posted either no longer exists or has been changed a lot. And so it can be kind of useful to have somebody that just embedded 20 tweets in a row on the same topic. Maybe that's what journalism is? Anyway, because you can't read it yourself, it says, there was something bothering me on Cinderella's 3D model. It's not that I don't like it, but she somehow looked different and I didn't know why. I just realized. It's because she never had ears in this costume. Now, I don't like it. I'll come right out and say this, and I think there are other problems. But the ears are a big part of it. They haven't just given her ears, they have given her like very large, protruding, noticeable ears. And it really makes you think about the fact that you've never seen ears on this lady before, have you? The tweet gets shared a bunch of times, both on and off Twitter. And so now you have a bunch of people pondering Cinderella's ears for perhaps the first time in their lives. Because why would they have ever pondered this before? And going, wait a minute, now that you bring it up, do we ever see Cinderella's ears? When she's at the ball, she's got the updo and the headband, and we don't see them there. But when she's in her maid outfit, and she has the scarf, she has the kerchief over her head, well, wait a minute, you don't see her ears then either. And you're thinking about the pink dress, well, she has her hair down, no ears. You don't see her ears when she's in her wedding look. We never see her ears. Does she even have ears? One of the few articles that shares this tweet that actually goes farther and adds something of substance is very offended that people are freaking out over nothing about this ears thing, demonstrating what is very characteristic of these articles, which is like such a lack of humor, no ability to commit to the bit. We're doing a little bit here. We're playing with each other. Come on. Now, Huai Chunbui says, let's consult the text. Let's review the footage. And this article is so funny to me. The author is conceding that, yes, you can't see Cinderella's ears in her ball gown outfit, but she has ears and you see them in other parts of the film when she's in different outfits. Well, great, says I. Roll the tape, show me these ears. May I present the ears in question? These are the actual screen grabs that are cited in the article as proof that Cinderella does indeed have ears. To which I say, would you please show me the ears? The article says, sure, they're not detailed, but they're definitely there. Can we zoom and enhance, please? I'm sorry, maybe I'm the crazy one, but on what planet is that a human's ear? This is what I'm talking about. This is why I say that nobody else is prepared to tell you the truth, because they can't handle the truth. But I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I will never look you in the eyes and pretend that this is an ear. This is not an ear. This is not an ear. This is further proof that Cinderella doesn't have ears. If her ears were just covered the whole time, then yeah, we would just assume she has ears, okay? At most, we can be agnostic as to whether or not Cinderella has ears. But these pictures are what makes me say, oh no, it's not that we don't see them. She doesn't have them. Because we get to see where the ear would be. Her hair is pulled back enough in some of these that we absolutely should be able to see her ear. We see the space on her head where an ear would be. And instead, what we see is completely blank. In some of these screen grabs, there is perhaps signs of a slight protuberance of some kind. We have just that little corner drawn in that suggests that there's shape there. But we see so much. We should be able to see the whole ear there. At the very least, the center of it. This is not a matter of the animation not being very detailed, of it being about the style. Because look at every other character in this movie. Miss Anastasia Tremaine? Full ear. Drizella, her hairstyle covers where her ears would be, so again, I guess we'll be agnostic as to whether or not Drizella has ears. But Lady Tremaine? The wicked stepmother? Look at that earage. She also has a big old round earring. She also has hair that's covering the very tip of her ear, but you still see there's still ear. You see, by percentage, okay, by raw real estate, you see less of her ear than you should of Cinderella's, but it is unmistakably ear. We have one line around the outside that's showing the outer contour of the ear distinct from the hair, even though it's under most of the hair. And then we have the little slash. In most of these shots, it's like a very tall V that shows the contours of the inner part of the ear. Because that's what ear look like. The prince, truly ginormous ears, and maybe that's what makes them such a good couple. You know, it's about balancing each other out. It's about having strengths where the other person has weaknesses. And where does the prince get those ears from? I don't think it was his mama. I think it was his father, the king. Prominent, protruding, well-defined ears on both of our old men. And that's not even to mention the mice. And you're going to say, well, those don't count. Those are irrelevant to the topic at hand because they're mice. And you'd be correct. But their ears are really big and really cute, and I just thought that should be honored. Look, if people just don't have ears in this universe, or if the art style of this animated movie is such that we don't see anybody's ears, that's one thing. That's not a plot hole, that's just a rule of how the world works. This isn't a matter of the art style not being detailed enough or making a stylistic choice to not specifically delineate the ears. We've established very thoroughly that in this art style, we do have ear. Cinderella alone has ears that would be visible, but are not there. And in fact, we see visibly the spot where her ears would be. Where are they? Where are her ears? I've gotten to a place with Cinderella's ears. Okay, Cinderella's ears and I have a relationship where I just think I am seeing something very plainly with my own two eyes. And it's not something I really would care about normally. I don't care. Whether or not Cinderella has ears that much is maybe an interesting thing to note. But the fact that other people want to tell me that I'm wrong? Tell me that I'm wrong? You know how I feel about being told I am wrong. We've discussed this. The fact that people want to gaslight me into calling this an ear. Oh, it makes me so mad. Because see, now this is a hill I will die on. You want to convince me that this is ear, that this is what ear look like? I've seen ear, okay? I have ears. And you, sir, are no ear. It's just crazy. We're all looking at the same movie. We're all looking at the same screenshots. And people will fully serious face, look you in the eye and being like, yeah, this is a picture of Cinderella's ears. People are like, why are you arguing about this stupid stuff? Why are you arguing about dumb things that don't matter in a children's movie when there are real problems? How are we supposed to solve real problems if we cannot agree, if we can't come to a shared understanding of the facts of the stupid animated princess movie? How am I supposed to build community and live in a world with people who think that this is an ear? If you want me to respect other people's opinions, I will as soon as other people's opinions stop being so dumb. This is not what color is the dress. Okay, this is not, oh, is this a vase or two faces? This is not the Mona Lisa smile, okay? We're not having subjective different opinions and experiences of art. This is whether it's an ear. This is what is an ear. The question on the table is ear? Question mark? And I'm saying no, because there's no ear. Check no. What is going on? I have some theories. For one thing, I do want to offer a little grace to people because this is a topic that Disney likes to lie about. Disney likes to lie to you about Cinderella, and case in point, the thing I just truly will never shut up about is the dress. When the fairy godmother gives Cinderella a new dress to wear to the ball, the dress is a beautiful, sparkling silver. It's gorgeous. She is clad in moonlight itself. At no point is the fabric of this dress blue. There are sequences in the film where it does appear blue because of the lighting, but you can absolutely see that this is affecting everything in the frame that might be silver or white. The light. And yet, Big Mouse has made a concerted effort for literal decades to try to convince you, to bamboozle you into thinking that this dress was always blue. That not only is it blue now, but your memories of it being silver are wrong. And I'm not just talking about the merchandise or the Disney princess iconography or the costumes in the parks or the subsequent remakes, reimaginations, reinterpretations. I'm not just talking about the fact that they have gotten other people to lie for them about this.
Girl in a big poofy blue dress with blonde hair.
They drew Cinderella in a blue dress. Those rules have to be adhered to. Cinderella will always have a blue dress.
I'm talking about Disney pretending the blue dress is in the original movie. You can fire up Disney Plus right now, and they haven't changed it yet, could any day. But the dress is still silver in the movie, and yet, I'm talking about on the official website, okay? I'm talking about princess.disney.com. They have screenshots, screen grabs from Cinderella, the 1950 movie, including one they have doctored to make the dress look more blue. I found this exact shot in the actual movie. Let's put them side by side. On reviewing the footage, I realized this actually isn't a screen grab at all. This is a composite of a couple different frames in the movie, and then they recolored the whole thing and colored her dress in blue. But you know what she doesn't have in any of the pictures on the website? Ears. Here are the two most recent iterations of the official Disney princess art. Don't these look correct? Don't they look right compared to these versions? And even if you like this style or you really like her super glittery dress, you know this looks wrong, don't you? You know it's not right. There's something about this that seems off, even if you can't quite put your finger on it. But because you've seen this video, you can put your finger on it. You can put your finger exactly on it because it is ears. She will never look right with ears. And everybody knows it. And that's how I know, we all know she doesn't have ears. Because otherwise, when we saw her with ears, people would be like, oh, look at that. Those are her ears. We never usually see those because they're under the hair. No! People go, that looks weird. That looks wrong. You're not Cinderella. Because Cinderella doesn't have ears. Now, why does Cinderella not have ears in a universe, may I remind you, where human beings do have ears? Well, we can't say for certain, but I can tell you that it is not the case that Cinderella was born without ears. Because we see child Cinderella. In that prologue bit at the very beginning of the movie, we see little 9 or 10-year-old Cinderella with her father who has ears. And little baby Cinderella has ears, even though she has her hair down. Look at that. So she had ears, and I don't know what happened between Cinderella's childhood and her adulthood that led to her no longer having ears. I have some ideas. They're not pretty, but I bet some of you are ready to argue with me now. I bet you're ready to say, wait a minute, you just showed us ears. She must then just still have her ears. She has ears the whole time. You just don't see them. They didn't fully flesh them out. She has ears. They just didn't draw them. Which brings me to the thing I think is actually interesting about this question. This is very similar to my last video when I talked about Dopey and whether or not Dopey can talk. If we're asking, does Dopey speak, all of the evidence that I brought means that some people will answer the question, yes. Yeah, sure, I have this tape of Dopey speaking extensively. I have this play. I have this obscure Italian comic. So I must say, yes, Dopey speaks. But some people will still say no, because it all depends on how you define Dopey, and I guess how you define can. I asked people in the comments to essentially share their perspective on what they mean by Dopey, what they think is true Dopey, and there were a range of different opinions. I think there's going to be a similar dynamic at play here, because whether or not you think Cinderella has ears is going to depend on your perspective on storytelling and exposition and canon and character, and specifically the medium of animation. In any kind of storytelling, so much has to just be implied, right? If I start my story with my character arriving at work at the beginning of the day for what seems like an ordinary day, we have to just accept it as implied that she woke up that morning, that presumably she, I don't know, had some kind of breakfast, brushed her teeth, she got dressed in the clothes we see her wearing now. Even if I started the story with her waking up in the morning, well, we would still have to take it for granted that she had gone to sleep the previous night, that this is not her first day alive, that she was actually born as a baby, that she had human parents. You ever notice that in stories, nobody ever seems to go to the bathroom? Of course they do. They don't tell you almost all the time when characters use the restroom. You're just gonna assume that they do because it wasn't stated otherwise. This is present in all storytelling, and it can be particularly noticeable in film, which has to put a literal frame around the character's reality. Film has its own entire language of visual shorthand, where characterization or setting or situations can be communicated to the viewer very, very quickly with just a couple of elements. If you are approaching a movie in good faith, if you are doing your job as a viewer, you are not putting the burden of proof on the movie to show you literally every minuscule aspect of the world. So I'm going to assume, for example, that every character I ever see in a movie that is human has ears. Okay? If I'm shown otherwise, then I'll know they don't have ears. But if I never see their ears, because they're always under hair, always under a hat, I don't think they need to prove to me that the characters have ears. I'll just assume they do. Characters have ears, even if I don't see them. Check. Great. I will happily sign on to that as a principle of viewing the medium of film. But this is not what I'm being asked to believe right now. Okay, the question on the table is whether in the medium of animation, in hand-drawn 2D animation, should we believe that characters have ears even when they haven't been drawn? That's a more interesting question. Okay, that is what the Cinderella's ear revisionists would have you believe. They're not just saying, oh, her ears are there, you can't see them. They're saying her ears are there, and you see the spot where they should be, but the animators just didn't draw them in that scene. They didn't draw the ears, but she still has ears. We should still conceptualize her as a character that has ears. We saw that she had ears at one point in her life. It's never mentioned that she loses her ears somehow. So we should mentally carry over the quality of having ears to all later ages of Cinderella, even though she has been drawn as an earless character. In not drawing the ears, they draw her as earless, but we should know she has ears even if they're not drawn. I am trying to present this in a neutral way, but I think you can tell that I think this is banana pants. What do you mean she has ears, but they didn't draw them? The movie is animated. Cinderella is drawn. In fact, that's all Cinderella is. She's only a drawing. None of this is real. The only thing that it is the drawing. The idea that something would not be drawn, be missing from the frame, and yet still exist? That's fascinating to me. That's legitimately fascinating to me. You could ask the same question about a lot of characters. I mean, does Aladdin have nipples? Am I allowed to say nipple on YouTube? We'll find out. But does he, though? We see where they should be. We see where they would be if he had them, and he doesn't. They're not there. I think some people would say yes. Based on the comments I get about Cinderella's ears, I think some people would say yes, that in the medium of animation, there is so much that's implied. We're not fleshing out every tiny scrap of detail. These are simplified, artistic renderings of humans, and we're just going to assume they have all components and parts. Perhaps the animator did not choose to specifically put down a mark on paper, but there is implied nipple here, okay, which is just as valid as artistically rendered nipple. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's a fair approach to animation, because God knows we don't see every single scrap, every contour, every wrinkle, every pore, every freckle. We don't see every tiny little bit of detail that you could cram into this space, but I still assume these are fully fleshed out, full human beings. I don't know, maybe. Okay, maybe it is more in keeping with the spirit of animation to think this guy has nipples. But I'm sorry I don't, because he doesn't, because where are they? These are interesting questions, okay? These are fruitful questions that allow us in conversation about these films to really get at the heart of what we think is the function and the rules of this form of art, okay? This is good. These are good discussions to have. But I think if you're thinking about this question during the movie, something's gone wrong. That's a bad sign. You should not be thinking about the gears turning. You should not be thinking about how the sausage gets made as you're looking at these characters. And, you know, we're talking about it. We're arguing about it. We're arguing about it in 2018 because of Wreck-It Ralph. And then we're arguing about it over the summer because, well, what happened was Disney Dan made a video about her headband and trying to suss out exactly what is the little thing at the end of her headband. I explained my reasoning at length in the TikTok, and I actually demonstrated using this headband, which is a Disney headband. This is a Belle headband, actual Disney branded. And I can't tell you the number of comments I got thinking that it was a banana. Plenty of people want to argue with me, because people always want to argue with me, even though I'm always right about everything. They'll say that no, even though they haven't drawn the ears, she still has ears. Or no, look at these screenshots. Actually, you can see her ears there. People will do anything. They'll make rebuttal TikToks. They'll make articles in the wherever that was. Articles for Slash Film debunking the hysteria. People will do anything except actually go back and watch the movie. just watch the movie for themselves. And you know how I know none of them watched the movie? Because then they would have brought up this. There's a shot where she has ears. It is so short, okay? We have only a few good frames of it, but it's there and you are not gonna miss it if you are watching the movie with ears in mind. We get a full view of the whole ear. It's like this shot was designed to prove to you that Cinderella has ears. And that, my friends, is what ear look like. That's what I've been waiting for. We have the full contour of the outside and a little squiggle for the inside. That's how I know none of you did the homework. None of you were prepared for class. Why do you come argue with me? And you couldn't even be bothered to watch the movie. It's a good movie. It's not a sacrifice to go watch 1950s Cinderella. It's a good movie. None of these articles, including the rebuttal articles, bring this up. In all my many strongly worded TikTok comments, I think I got one person commenting about this scene. Why am I doing your work for you? Why are we in an argument and I brought my receipts and then I also have to bring your receipts? Now, this shot is absolutely your best argument if you want to tell me that Cinderella has ears. For sure. But this does not convince me. At best, this convinces me that Cinderella once had ears or sometimes has ears, but this is already something we established with Child Cinderella. After this, we don't see the ears again, so we're having the same argument all over again. Does the fact that she had ears once mean we must pretend she has ears the whole time, even when they draw her without ears? Or does seeing her without ears mean she didn't have ears there? This is a philosophical question about the nature of animation as a medium that we are not going to settle today. All we are going to settle today is that none of you are on my level. Just feeling really happy that my username is not my actual first and last name, because I'm out here trying to date. Imagine if after a first date, you Google the person you just went out with, and this comes up. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's better for them to know what they're getting into. A big thank you to all the lovely and generous friends over on my Patreon, most of whom joined because they wanted to support the work I do with my really long deep dives. Specifically, I'm going through the classic American Girl dolls and doing a real excruciating deep dive on all the lore. They're also there for sneak peeks and early access to videos like this. They're there for lovely and whimsical bonus content, but though they came for the deep dives, they are getting used to seeing me a lot more often because the time and energy I used to spend on TikTok making videos like this, I now spend on YouTube making videos like this. Does Cinderella have ears? Oh, good. An AI overview. The 1950 version of Disney's Cinderella doesn't have ears, but her 3D design in Ralph Breaks the Internet Wreck-It Ralph 2 does. Some fans have speculated that Cinderella doesn't have ears in her costume because she was drawn before Congress allowed women to have ears, or because her fairy godmother forgot to include them. Let me turn that off.